All right, this is another CNC machine that has arrived at the scrap yard. Now, what makes this machine different than the last one is this machine uses trim channel. And trim channel is a U-shaped channel that goes on the end of plywood to give it a nice finish edge, like on years ago, kitchen tops, tabletops. And plywood looks pretty rough on the edge. So you buy this aluminum channel and you glue it on the end. And that's why they call it trim channel. And this is a V block that rides on the lip of the trim channel. See, this was an exercise in minimalism, the least amount of parts to build a CNC machine from scratch, okay, without buying like Chinese linear rails and different bearings. Now, what's coming by now? Oh, the same motorcycle. Yeah, up in Lancaster here, people, they ride the motorcycle around the block. They don't really go anywhere with the motorcycle. So sometimes this can go on for 2 or 3 hours, the guy just driving around the block. But anyway, this one's coming apart too. I'm saving one of the three that I built since I've been here. Actually, I built more since I've been here. I took those apart. Since I moved here, I think I built at least 8 CNC machines, more than 30 in New Jersey. I don't want to end up like someone I know. This person I knew, up until the 3 days before he died, he knew he was dying. He still was going to get to all the projects he never got to. He was so delusional. And I know that when I go by the room and I look in and I see some of these projects, I know I'm never going to use it. Okay? And if you watch the last video and say, well, why don't you sell it? Why don't you do this? I don't want to be involved. Okay? Whenever you sell something to someone, well, I'm having trouble with this. Right? That's more money out of my pocket. Okay? I spent 20 years in CNC, and I coined it CNC hell. Okay, for a reason, because a lot of people go into it that don't know how to use hand tools. Uh, they don't understand X and Y and Z. And, you know, the things I learned in my school. And I was a poor student, but obviously I picked up a lot more than a lot of people. Now, this is an end bearing. And this is a washer that's been drilled out with 4 holes. And it holds the bearing up against this bearing plate. And what an end bearing does is it takes, this is a pretty stiff machine, it takes the load off the stepper motor. See, the Chinese just eliminated the end bearing. Okay, what they do is they use the bearing in the stepping motor. Okay, a real machine has an end bearing. It might have 2 end bearings. Okay, and it's just a matter of the public is stupid. I tried to educate the public. I tried to tell them that they could build a machine. I tried everything. It didn't work. Okay, yeah, I had customers. Okay, I had 9 really good years, and then 11 years of just, hit and miss. People buying stuff. And they email you, oh, I didn't expect there to be that many parts. I didn't realize there was that much plastic on the machine. A Makita hand drill. Makita hand drill. Probably one of the best ones is what, 90% plastic? But this is the stuff I was putting up with. Oh, you use a lot of plastic. They don't know how to use the machine. They don't know how to build it, but they're an expert that certain parts shouldn't be made out of plastic. And that's what you put up with when you deal with the public. Now, the Z-axis on this is one of my favorite skidded and frame here. This is a pipe. These are pipes. And you can get some really good flanges. It's mounted with a flange. It comes up, elbow to another flange. And this is the Z-axis. Very little flex in this type of unit for a hobby machine, And I was shooting for the power of a Shoreline or a tag. Okay, that was my top of the line. And then some people wrote me back saying you're almost there. And they had built one of my machines and they had one of the tags of the Shorelines. But this machine here with the trim channel, it was basically made to mill out circuit boards. Now, I milled out circuit boards 20 years ago, and I sold them. They're called the piker board. I don't know if this one's milled here. See if it's in the frame. I don't know if this one's milled. I can't tell from the top. But I was milling these circuit boards out and selling them. And I had guys come in. I'm an engineer. You can't mill out circuit boards. And I said, you want to buy one? And they disappear. Then a lot of my, I would show on my website, I used to show emails that I got from people. And then I'd have a funny response to them. Because there were people just, they'd see something, oh, that can't work. So they'd stop their day and write me this long letter telling me why something wouldn't work. And I'd say, I've been selling this machine for like 9 months. And I actually tell them to go look at the one page, and you can actually see people that have built the machine. And then you can actually go on YouTube, put my last name in, you'll see some of the machines. People actually got it working, but not enough of them to really take off. It was in spurts, the amount of people that would finish a machine. And then a couple guys I talked to on the phone, they'd say, well, I got it to where I wanted it to be. I got the machine all done. I got it to cut my name out on a piece of wood. And the person would say, that was what I was shooting for. And I'm like, you're not going to make signs? No. I just wanted something to work on, keep their mind busy. Hands busy, mind busy. Because CNC is several hobbies tied together if you build it, okay? You got the craftsmanship. You might design some of it. You got the software you're going to have to learn how to install and run. You're going to have to do the drawings in CAD for the CNC. So it's a pretty big hobby. And like I said, it kept me busy for 20 years. And I kept making the machine cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and easier to build, and trying to get materials that you could buy at Lowe's. Now, like I said, this is trim channel. And I wanted to see how sturdy of a machine I could build using trim channel, and it worked out. Of course, you might not see it in here. There's little pieces in here, stiffeners, okay? That's the secret. See, when you look at one of my machines real quick, there's things in here to keep the skewing again. Once again, you don't want this axis to skew. And then once it's mounted on this piece of plastic, that's the, we'll call this the X-axis. Well, anyway, that helps it not skew also. So when you design something, you try to make it as stiff as possible. Now, when you draw something out, it looks stiff. But when you actually build it, things actually flex. I call it like the diving board. If you see a diving board drawn out, and you never saw a diving board before, you wouldn't realize that when you walk out on the end of the diving board, it's going to flex down about 1/2 foot. And that's what I was dealing with. I was dealing with people that didn't understand what each material was capable of. All right, each material has its limitations. How long a piece it takes before it starts to shift or flex under load. And that's what you try to build a machine a certain size. You try to use the material as big as you can make it so it doesn't flex to a certain degree. Then you get the people that want to build the machine always bigger. Bigger's always better, right? Bigger's always better. The Texans, bigger's always better. And then they complain it takes too long to go from one end to the other, and they complain it's too much flex. So they build the machine after I must have said it like 40 times on my website. Don't build it bigger. Don't ask me why to build it bigger. People would still ask me. That shows they don't read, they don't comprehend. And then they would build it too big, and then they go around and tell everybody that the design is no good because all the parts flex. That's because in some cases they made the machine 12 foot long. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. A 4 foot long machine becomes 12 foot, and then the complaint is it takes 4 minutes to go from one end to the other because they have the wrong kind of drivers and motors. And when you go cheap, you have to limit what you can do with it. You got to say, okay, this motor is capable of 80 ounces, and into a 1/4 threaded rod, let's just say that's 80 pounds of force. Okay, that's how much it gets amplified in a 1/4 threaded rod. 80 pounds of pressure. Now, if you want it to go faster, you have to increase the voltage of the motors on the controller board, but you'll only go up just so much using resistors. You got to have some type of switching driver, and that gets more money. So what I did was I took all the cheapest ways to do something and create the best machine I could do, out of those materials. But there's always the people. Well, what if I put bigger motors on? There's people that don't start the machine, never finish it, but they always want to build it bigger and they want it to go faster. Okay? And you have that in every hobby. No matter what you do, there's a person that wants it bigger or faster. And they never use the thing. This is what I learned. I can tell you, if you're doing a project and you think people are going to buy it, they're going to want it bigger, they're going to want it cheaper. And you will have customers, okay? And the customers just send you the money, okay? These other people, they're cranks, okay? Well, I need something that can cut 4x8 sheets of plywood. Well, to cut a 4x8 sheet of plywood, the machine's got to be even bigger than 4x8. And if you go look at the price of those machines, they start at like $15,000 and up. They've seen the price, but now they're coming and they're trying to get you to get a machine that can be built for $200 that'll cut a 4x8 sheet of plywood. And it's funny. And then you get the people that want to cut propellers for airplanes, and not toy planes, real planes. And I get in conversation with them, and it's because this company wants $300 for a propeller. So now they're off on a tangent, and they're going to try to build a machine to make propellers because they think $300 something is too much money. And that's FAA certified. They don't even understand that, okay? And the more you deal with people, the more you realize how stupid they are. And if you mention FAA, you're stupid because they're never going to get that far, okay? And I used to do that. I say, well, how are you going to get it past the FAA? What do you mean the FAA? Okay, they're around airplanes, and you say to them, everything has to be approved by the FAA. I think it's FAA. Well, anyway, they don't understand that. I'm like, they're not even near an airplane. It's pipe dreams. And people send you emails, and you're in their pipe dream, okay? And you don't realize it until a couple of years later. You say, wait a minute. And I had some of these people come to my house, and they'd be telling me something, and I just say, don't react to what they just said. Let them find out on their own, because I'm a harbinger of bad news with people because I know what's involved in things. I got involved I worked on avionics stuff, so I know that you just can't build an airplane and take it up for a flight. It's got to be checked, okay? And you can take an airplane up without it getting checked, but if you get caught, that's a whole other ball of wax. But it's just amazing what people are like. Well, I have no problem with that. They got another bigger bullshit story that they pull out on you. And then you stand there, why did I say anything? But this is Trim Channel, and you can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot. Lowe's or Home Depot. It's 3/4 inch, and these are 1032 bolts, or maybe 832s with lock washers. Actually, star washers. Always use star washers. And there's little brackets hidden in here. I hide stuff in places, and that's to prevent skewing. It stiffens up each axis, and then all you have to do is bolt it together. And then to align it, there's screws that you can adjust and set it for 90 degrees. I try to put a lot of adjustments into a machine in my head on the actual machine to make up for any mistakes I might have made. Sometimes you can be within a couple thousandths, but when you go from one end to the other on a piece that's a foot long, you're going to be out by a 32nd of an inch on the opposite end if you don't add some place for adjustment. And these holes, these things are bolted together at the corners. There's a little bit of play in there, so you can adjust it and get this at a perfect right angle. And these were cut on a block. No, oh, son of a bitch. A miter saw. All these were cut on a miter saw, close, and then belt sanded in and measured with a large, like 8-inch digital calipers. So everything on this is very accurate, okay? And I said, well, let me see what I can do with Trim Channel. And once again, if you saw the last one, this is the way I mounted a Dremel tool. It's held in 2 places. And I can't say enough about the Dremel tools. They work really well. And those old men on the groups, there's so much play in there. They use rubber washers in it and blah blah. The cup on the back bearing is rubber, but the amount of pressure you put on the Dremel will never be enough to move that back bearing. It was just amazing the shit they would throw out there, and you're trying to get a CNC machine in the hands of somebody so they can learn the software. See, they're all these big metal guys, you know, the ones that instead of getting a plastic hip, a plastic knee in their leg, they get a metal leg, and then it doesn't have as much movement because metal's always better than plastic. That's what they always tell you. But in other words, they want a really strong machine that they're never going to use. That's what it comes down to. It's all bragging rights. And here I come along and I'm trying to make a machine that really can make stuff, and you can learn your CNC coding on it, but they didn't see that. See, they knock you down because they're unhappy because you've come up with a machine. So early on, those groups, I vacated those groups. And a lot of those guys in the groups went on to buy my plans. Okay, they never finished the machines, but they at least made the first step and bought the set of plans. See, a lot of people buy plans for stuff and then they don't finish it. It's very common. I didn't realize that. It pops out at you after a while. People that buy plans, build projects, they have so many projects they didn't finish that you quickly realize that they're on top of you for 3 days before they disappear. All right, you know, the excuse is I can't get it to cut straight. You know, what are you using? Then they tell you, and you're like, that's all you own? You know, you're going to build a CNC machine with just a hacksaw, and you can. Early on, the first machines, I built them using just a hacksaw and a belt sander. Okay, but I have skills. Okay, my dad was a tool maker, and after I build something, he'd look at it and say, how the hell did you build that? Because we didn't have any real tools in the cellar. Later on, every time he had a birthday, I'd buy another power tool. And my father was very abusive on power tools. We had a really nice bandsaw, and he kept claiming the blades were breaking. And finally I found what he was cutting with. He was cutting tempered steel. This is a tool maker. He was trying to cut pieces of tempered steel. And I don't know when he was getting older, if he was getting a little weird or what, but he really would push stuff. And anytime I owned a Dremel tool, he'd make comments about the Dremel tool. That they don't hold up, and at work they burn right out. And then one day I come home and I walked into my workshop, and he had this giant wheel on my Dremel tool. I go, what the hell is that? He goes, I had to sharpen the lawnmower blade. I said, you don't put that big of a wheel. Oh, you got to have, no, you don't. You put a small wheel and you gently sharpen the blade for the lawnmower. And then I realized he could not sharpen anything to save his life. Okay, he would always, even if you gave him a razor blade to sharpen, he would take it to a stone, a spinning stone, or what do you ever call a grinding wheel. With a razor or an X-Acto knife, you lap it in with like a strope. I think it's a strope, a barber strope. Years ago, I used to actually sharpen my X-Acto blades because they were expensive. Now you can get them real cheap, but the tips break off. We won't go into that. But yeah, I've been through so much in my life. I'm realizing I'm not going to get to certain things anymore, and it's tough love. I hate taking this apart, but you know, you say, well, sell it, right? No, just go ship this. It'll get broken. It's not going to end well. It's going to be another stupid story, and right now it's going to come apart. It's like if you ever watched on YouTube, they bring the ship in, they beach it, and they cut it up with torches, you know, and you're looking at the ship, and it's not that old. That's because it's not big enough, okay? The ships keep getting bigger and bigger, and then when they spill over, they really make a bigger mess. That's the way it is. It's all about money. And the Chinese took me out. I knew they would catch me eventually, you know. And then the one guy kept telling me, whenever the Chinese would try to order sets of plans from me, I wouldn't sell it to them. And this one guy kept telling me, you can't do that. That's illegal. If you do, I said, I'll do whatever I want. I'm not handing them the answers. You know, they already got a space station up there. That's all stolen technology. They stole it from us. Okay. And that's what people like to do. With the CNC machines, I had guys that were just copying my stuff and selling stuff. And some guys actually buy a copy of my plans, make copies and sell them on eBay. But luckily, a lot of my guys would spot it and tell me. I tell eBay and they take it down. All right? But it was a nightmare. It was an absolute pure nightmare. So you think you come up with an idea, people are going to be happy with you. They're not. They always want better. They want bigger. And it's something you got to learn. If someone had told me, I'd say, well, I really want to do this, and I would have done it anyway, and then realized sooner, though, that they were right about people. You know, people don't like to see other people happy. That's what it is. There's people out there shooting other people. You know, I don't like this type of minority. I don't like this one. You know, and then when they take the mugshot of the guy is definitely a freak to start with. But you know, lately I realize what people are really like. You know, you have your opinion of what percentage of people are smart, what percentage of people are dumb, what percentage of people that don't want to learn, people that want stuff done for them, people, you know, and then you have all these different groups. But when I first started CNC, there was a group of people that just wanted to learn. They wanted a machine to experiment with, to actually cut the G codes. And then as time went on, there were people that wanted the machine and they didn't know what they wanted it for. Or they wanted, like I said, cut an airplane propeller with a machine. And then one guy saw that they had styrofoam figurines, giant, like 6 foot full size figures. You know, a person would stand there, they'd scan the person, and then this thing would cut a person out of styrofoam that looked like them, the silhouette. And actually it was 3D. But they would bother me. They'd come up, can you make that machine for me? You know, I go look at the machine, it's $50,000. So then I come back, I say, well, how much? Oh, 300-400 should do it. It's so funny. Think about the hours. I went and looked, researched it, figure out how it's done, and then how much does the real machine go for? And then they come back to you and they say, yeah, $300 should do it, shouldn't it? I think that's it. All right, that's it.